talk to me about your dog stick going around the fence. After I blew up your world yesterday, or 2 days ago.
Well, so the question would be, are we going to do a show full of Latin music? Is it always going to be orchestrally turned into Latin? Does it ever become pure Latin?
I'm just curious. The beginning of the show, I think the hook of the show that people go, wow, is the creative idea that we find and use non-classical or non-Latin classical music in a Latin way. Now, I think we absolutely do play Latin music.
Okay.
And I don't think it needs to be classical music. I think we can use anything we want. If we're just playing classical music in Latin style for 10 minutes, that's going to be really brutal.
Because I think we can get an opener of like, oh, that's really cool. And then something has to be different about whatever the third movement is.
To stand on the shoulder of the giants before us is most time like there's a really good dedication to theme and concept, and then you can explore. So I just think the beginning of the show, we really, as our good friend would say, double down.
Does the closer, for example, for lack of a better opener ballad closer, I don't know what we're going to call these because I don't know if we're going to have a real ballad or not.
Right.
Is the closer going to be the, and I'm not saying we're going to use this, is it the Malagueña where it's just ram jam Latin fire to the end kind of thing?
I think the way that we treat it is that we know what the bookends are going to be, and then when we get the concrete idea, like let's go ahead and plan on us designing the first third of the show and whatever the end minute and a half is going to be. We'll give the people what they want.
At the end, it just needs to be fun.
Right.
I want a mid to late 90s long note where it's just drums just going on and flat. No, I'm not saying the flags have to go crazy, but...
So how does that story start musically?
But and the reason why I was asking about this whole Latin thing was when we get to the closer, it seems to me that closer should be the Latin that everyone expects from the Madison Scouts in terms of whether it's callbacks or it's in that style. Because it's not really like an Afro-Cuban Spanish, like it's just kind of, it's drum corps Latin, right?
That's a good way to put it.
And I feel like the closer, the last movement, needs to be drum corps Latin.
Well, okay, so let's go to the visual ideas. Like Noah's idea is that the piano's frustrated of doing what it does and it just wants to let music out, so it goes different places, and that's where it wants to go, is this Latin idea. We can use that in the aesthetic and the color too, and tell a very abstract story of that.
Yeah.
Josh's idea is more scene setting literal of the character or the character of the guard, like the guard is a central character. In the whole opener, or the whole first 3 minutes, we're messing with textured time and effect that goes back and forth between being straight and being Latin. Okay. And in the closer, we're just Aussies on, beat up, go. I mean, and that's an oversimplification.
Sure. Yeah.
But that would be very effective. And then, if we write the beginning like that and we plan out the closer, that middle section, I mean, it could be 64 counts. Probably not, but I'm just saying, like depending on how much time we have, it could just be like a little like seek from one thing to the other.
Explain to me what the concept is then, because I could just do 3.5 minutes of just doing something, but I don't know where I'm going with it to the end.
In the beginning,
like the intro. I mean, the beginning to the intro, that's not a problem. That doesn't. I don't want to say it doesn't matter where we're going to end up, but that's the least. It's just from there on, I don't know where are we supposed to end up after the production, the next production.
The idea that the piano sound or the piano physical instrument wants to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't want to be like forever. The piano's been sat down at and people play at it, and we're painting the picture that it's being played with classical music or whatever. And then the idea that the piano wants to let out the music that's inside of it.
Gotcha.
So the other idea is that we use a central character to liven up the field. So like everything is straight with their ties up, and that character wants to affect the field with his or her music in the way that they want to.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that those storylines, either of them would work.
are we going to use up all the cool factor if we do it all in the first 3.5 minutes of this trans? Because it sounds like if we're going to get to the closer and it's just screw it, we're going 90s Madison, right? Shouldn't we go on a 6 to 7 minute journey to get us there?
Yeah.
As opposed, so what that would mean to me is very straight, very Latin. Straight with a little Latin, you know, so that by the time we get to the ballad or whatever the second production is, and then by the end of it, it's this mix of it, and then it becomes all Latin. Because the way we've been talking about it previous to this conversation is it seems like we're going to do all that stuff, and that's 3.5 minutes, and we're done.
No, I agree with you. I think that what I've been intending to say the whole time is what you just said. I just don't know that I've been communicating correctly. Okay. So I mean, because we should certainly do an effect where we play something straight, we play something Latin.
Right.
Like nanny nanny boo boo.
Yes, and I think that's a character. It could be a character technique moment in the first production.
And I think that we should probably tell some sort of story in all the different ways that we can, musically, harmonically. Like when I say musically, I like in terms of emphasis, like in terms of how we emphasize what we're doing musically, harmonically, rhythmically. Like any idea that we can do that, I think makes sense. And I think that it needs to be pretty tongue-in-cheek after we get to the first impact. But I mean, you could paint a picture of the front ensemble piano character doing the opening, everything, and everyone on the field being very irritated that that's happening, and like we're done. And that could be drill. That could be like a progression of like immediately they're not happy that that's happening because the Madison Scouts aren't happy that it's happening. I wonder if Josh talk about this a little bit more and see what his first inclination would be. In terms of like, that could work, but what if we did it this way? Because musically, all those ideas make sense.
Sure. So you think we should, for some strange reason, ask a visual person what they think about a...
I would say that
a drum corps show.
Yeah, I would say...
Well, maybe we see when he's available, we break for a meal, and then we come back and we do a Zoom.
I think so.
Yeah, all right.
Zoom's up.
Make it so.
I just texted him.
All right. Good ice cream. So we're gonna Zoom with Josh, and we're gonna run this. You're gonna run this idea, see how he feels about it.
We need to get Josh's. We need to pitch these different ideas to Josh, and see what resonates with him to meet us in the middle. Because even though like I try and speak visual first because my tendency is to go music first.
Sure. Right. And I don't care about visual. So
I know. I just want to do what I want to do.
Why can't you just let me be me?
Yeah, you told me.
You told me there is nobody in the marching arts as creative as me.
That's not what I said, but
I'm pretty sure that's what you said.
You're paraphrasing.
Oh boy.
Okay, you need to join the Zoom call.
You didn't send me one.
I did. I texted you to the Creamy Boy group.
Oh, did you? Sorry, we were taking Les Miserables on our way. Hello?
Hello.
Hey.
Turn your video on.
For some reason, it says allow Zoom to access your camera from device menu, settings, privacy, camera. Okay, hold on.
Oh my god.
Where am I going? What was the first thing I said? Privacy? And then I go to camera?
The whole fate of the Madison Scouts is relying on the three of us right now.
That's right.
Are you recording this?
Yep.
Oh, Lord.
So we're going to talk through the idea for the musical pacing we have so far.
Hit me with it.
Oh, okay. So we've come to the conclusion that we think probably musically the best option is to start through the first 3 minutes of the piece, gradiating between having classical music being played and then going through and like basically going between that and playing those things in Latin and coming up with like basically a back and forth the whole time. then there's like interjection of Latin music and like a struggle of like, like not Nanny Nanny Boo Boo, but almost like Nanny Nanny Boo Boo. And then we would basically progress from calling back and forth between the two styles to by the end of the show, we're playing classical music like in full Latin style. Does that make sense?
So we wanted to make sure that you felt that there is a visual through or something that you can work with. So if it's a 3-production show, for example, the first production is segment, 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 segment. They get shorter and shorter, but they're never fully merged. It's very much the two worlds. The second production could almost be like the two worlds combined for a brief moment, almost like Romeo and Juliet, but then by the end they pull apart. And then the third production is a full marriage of we can live happily ever after, or we can do it together. So it becomes a progression of joining, of assimilation. It's a transition show, so to speak.
So I would think that you would use, and I don't know if this is what you mean by all of that you just said, but you would use the soloist as one of the factions and the drum corps as the other the entire time.
That's
exactly what we said.
That's what we said.
We said it was almost as if the soloist wanted to do classical music and the entire corps wanted to be Latin, and ultimately it becomes a merge.
Or is it the opposite? Because we're going to be, I think it would be harder to show that character through the drum corps and easier to isolate it to one person who's trying to get more and more of the drum corps on their side almost. I think that would be an interesting play on it too.
It would also be the opposite of what you would think, because you would think the Madison Scouts would want everyone to play Latin music.
I mean, and that's kind of the cool thing, is because like you logically think about a piano player sitting down and probably playing classical, but what if it's the opposite? What if it's like it's all set up for him to come in, and then it's like, yeah, I don't want to play classical, I want to play. It's almost like in La La Land, the main character wants to play jazz, but everywhere he goes, he's like forced to play Christmas music. You know what I mean? It's kind of, you can kind of take that approach to it too. It definitely changes the vibe of things, which I think is cool.
We can have, it doesn't have to always concrete be like the piano player playing Latin music and the horn line playing classical music. Like it can be all tossed around. I think we still stay pretty abstract, except for what the character's goal is, because then it can be like the piano player is getting the trumpets and they're playing Latin together, but then the low brass and the battery is playing something straight. You know, we can create the storytelling however we want, you know what I mean? But the idea that we're taking those things and volleying them back and forth musically creates a lot more variety than doing it just full out from the beginning. You know
and it allows a progression to get us to this full mixture. So I like that. I like where Jason was going. Where maybe it's not just married to the soloist, always being one type.
I have a question. What if we use something like a constant that everybody knows? What if that is like a constant throughout, that each time you hear it through the program, it's kind of referencing where we are? You know what I mean? So like at first it's like super straight up, and then later on there's like a little attitude to it, a little spice, and then by the end, if you were just to divide it even simply into 3 times you hear it, by the end it's more like the version on the Spotify. I know Jason and I really like and dig and think. I think that's the coolest kind of rendition of those Latin classical tunes. What if over time that kind of falls apart?
We find a melody that represents the character.
Right.
Like the piano theme. Like that's the theme.
That's the theme
show.
of the piano, the La La Land theme, if you will. Except not that, because we don't like La La Land.
No.
Except for Noah. Don't tell Noah. We won't let Noah watch this episode.
And I just want to say, for the record, I think there's an opportunity missed if we can't connect to.
Yes. I'm all for wordplay, Josh. I get it.
All right.
That's the title of the show now.
Something to think about. I'm just saying.
So are you on the song now?
No! You got me with wordplay.
Yeah. Everyone has to have something that belongs to them in the show. I'm giving you the end, and I'm giving you the beginning.
That is such a good wordplay. I can't not use it now. Josh, you diabolical.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm telling you, that's a great idea.
I know.
You gotta grin and bear it, baby.
Yeah. All right, bye, buddy.
Boys, be safe.
All right, see ya.
Bye.
What? Is that the title of our show now, Jason?
Maybe. I think it's really cool.
I think it could be.
I mean, just from like an idea standpoint, like you're treating melodies like characters, which is totally different than what we talked about originally. It's way cooler than the piano being a character.
But you're right. I think I'm just going to need to sit down and think about what would go well into this and figure it out and see if I can get it to work in 3.5 minutes. Which
It doesn't have to be 3.5 minutes.
Good. I'm going to write you a 6-minute opener, just like the old
Just
days.
like strawberry soup.
It was
The
more-
strawberry soup draft 1 was 5.5 minutes, and we had to cut it down to 3.
It was a strawberry stew. Is
Strawberry
what it really
stew.
was.
The first one was strawberry. First one was strawberry roast. It was a full roast, and then we took that down to a stew.
Yeah,
And then its final form that we released on YouTube on the channel was soup.
it was a soup. That's
Yeah,
a soup.
It was a thick soup.
Yeah, I think Chris Comnick sent the soup back.
Just the ending.
He didn't like
He
it.
didn't like the aftertaste.
That's well.
He liked the front. He liked the way it sat on
Right.
the middle of the tongue. But he didn't like the.
When you get older, your taste buds change.
You don't like it when they're. He just doesn't want. He's not used to a hard Topo Chico aftertaste.
Oh.
Like he didn't want that hard. I like the crisp.
I do too. I like the bite. I like the bite
back
of it.
end of the drink. It's
Yeah. Well, Chris, does he like his beans? His chili with beans in it?
good. Yeah, his noodles. He likes his noodles with chili on top.
with the
As
pasta.
we saw tonight, we like our noodles with steak on top.
Oh, that's how. Hey man, if there's no steak in my meal, I don't want it. Just like you, Mahler, right?
Yeah,
There's
what do
no
you think, Mahler?
steak. There's no meat. Where's the meat?
Where's the meat?
You're the meat, buddy.
Where is the meat? So I mean, I think that's it. I mean, I think that you start writing. That's the show.
Let's do it.
All right, I'm gonna go look at these shoes over here.
Right behind you, buddy.